Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Wellness Blueprints. I'm Jess Milner. So glad you're here to nourish your roots with me. And today, as your quantum energy healer, I am going to elaborate on last week's podcast episode. We talked about burnout culture and the hustle and go, 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 and how it really isn't doing our body any kinds of favors. And I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit because this burnout crash, I mean, I see it happening so much. And it happens across the board, with anybody really, but especially with moms or like women who are out there like doing their girl boss thing. And I'm not saying that men don't get burnout, because of course you do. uh but from this kind of a perspective, we have this culture, like this entrepreneur, go get it, build that business, mama, and all of these things. And it's just like this constant hamster wheel running to the next thing. And from the outside, people are like, wow, she's doing so great. She's got these clients, she's doing this and that. And, on the inside, mama's there like screaming, because at the end of the day, look at all this shit I built. Now I'm going to go to bed because I have no energy to enjoy any of it. And part of this, so I want to elaborate on this because it's so important, because, I mean, society has kind of built this, for us, and it's pretty sucktastic, But from a neurodivergent perspective, or even just the perspective of somebody who doesn't really look into things about themselves to help to learn anything about ourselves specifically. So I'm talking about things like, human design or astrology, or, you looking into things to kind of figure out, why is it that when I do the things that somebody else does, I don't have the same results, or I'm not, so, and you start to think that something is wrong with you. And as a result of things like that, we might procrastinate, but then we'll hyper focus. So, I mean, we don't moderate. It's kind of like, okay, perfectionism is a really big thing in the neurospicy community. It's like, listen, I'm going to do it absolutely perfectly and give it my absolute all. But, we might procrastinate until we get to that point, and then you go, 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 and then bam, crash. And I mean, like, this is like literally how I wrote my master's thesis. It's how I completed projects in school. It's probably how I will complete my dissertation for my doctorate. But we are hyper focused and we will ignore signs from our body. Our nervous system is working overtime anyway, and then we will ignore signs. But, society is kind of designed for people who are more neurotypical, and we basically, what it is we want to follow our natural rhythm. And now this is true for everyone, not just neurodivergence. Everyone wants to follow more of a natural rhythm, some kind of a schedule, something that makes them feel aligned. There it is. That's what it is. It's alignment that we are seeking. So, there are the theories that originally the hunters and gatherers were probably the neurodivergence of the villages and the societies, from ancient times. And they say that because of the way that we can be impulsive, and we focus on our instincts, and hyper focus. Those are skills that are really good for those kinds of things, right? Because you're going on your own schedule. One of the things that for me has been really helpful, and there was somebody who like said something about this not too long ago to me. The whole idea of like waking up to an alarm, which of course, if you've got a job early in the morning, I mean, like, you gotta set an alarm, I mean, most people do anyway. I mean, people didn't used to. I suppose people used to manage to get up and get to a job at a certain time, without an alarm clock waking them up, unless they had like a rooster or something like that. I mean, times were just different. But so I remember being told, like this whole idea of like waking up to an alarm can really, it can just, it kind of like shocks you out of your sleep. It's not allowing your body to naturally wake up. So it can mess with your sleep. It can mess with your body. It can mess with your nervous system. And I was like, oh, okay. So, I'm like, okay, well, let's try not to do that. And what I was doing, like because, like, especially now it's summertime, like we don't wake up at a certain time unless we have somewhere to be. And, so it's like, okay, we just wake up at, the time that our body wants to wake up. and just kind of lazy around a little bit or whatever. You just get up and you do the things, and without using an alarm clock. And I was noticing that, like, even if I did have to like set an alarm for something, like if I had to catch a plane or something like that, you don't want to miss your flight or your Uber, right? So I would set an alarm, but I was finding myself that I would wake up naturally 10 minutes before the alarm went off. And it was making me think of, there was an episode, I think it was an episode of Seinfeld where he would set his internal clock and everything. But that was an actual like thing that you can like think in your mind what time and envision the clock going to that time, and then and imagine like the alarm going off, and then you would wake up at that time. And the mind is very powerful, so sometimes that sort of thing can work. However, so all that to say, there are certain things that are different about rhythms of people who are just built a little bit differently than most neurotypical people are. So we don't thrive very well on somebody else's schedule that's very, rigid. I mean, we probably need a schedule, but we're not very good at keeping it, or, we get angry with it and go, okay, screw this crap, and like toss it aside. But so the thing is, we've been conditioned to that, like we need to keep going, keep moving. You need to always be doing something, always producing something, and like, so your productivity, and I was saying how your productivity is not, measured. That doesn't measure your worth. And when your actions don't equal your energy, you're going to have an internal war. I mean, because you're not aligned. So, if your energy is like, okay, well, your body just really needs to rest, and you need to do this and that, you need to get some sunshine, and, um, there's, more minor things that you might need to be getting done. When we are not doing those things, and we're doing all the stuff that we don't want to do, we're not aligned, and your body's going to rebel. So, especially when your mind is overriding everything and keeping you in this state of overwhelm, when your nervous system is already working so freaking overtime, your body is going to rebel. And this misalignment is going to lead to inflammation, not just physical inflammation, but actually inflammation of your energetic centers, inflammation of your emotions. So, true productivity actually comes from alignment, not despite it. So if you are feeling like, I just really need to do nothing, and you're feeling like guilty that you are being lazy, I want you to ask yourself, are you being lazy, or are you listening to your body's wisdom? Because there's a huge difference there. Okay. Yes, we can be lazy sometimes, but that's forgivable because every body needs rest. So, and we ignore our body's signals all the time, and we've been trained to ignore them since childhood. And I think I mentioned it on my Facebook that there's a state, I think it was Tennessee. I don't know. When you look it up, there's a couple of different ones. But anyway, basically saying that kids have to be in school a certain amount of days, and even with a doctor's note, they won't be excused. So the guy said, like, oh, if they've got the sniffles, it's okay. They can go to school with the sniffles because we go to work when we have the sniffles. And I mean, this is further training kids to ignore their body's signals, to ignore how tired they are, to ignore how out of alignment they are, and push through anyway. And this is going to continuously lead to that burnout, that crash cycle. It's just like a never ending rush of like, I suck. Okay, I can do it. Run, 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 bam. Constantly over and over again with this burnout cycle, crash out cycle culture. So I want you to rediscover your own rhythm, and don't listen to all of the shoulds, because society, your neighbor, your best friend, your spouse, people might have all of these. Oh, well, you should be doing this. You should be doing that. You should be doing what is aligned with you, because otherwise you're going to be burned out. And I mean, are we going to completely avoid burnout altogether? Well, probably not, because, things happen in life, and, you got to do the things. So it's going, so, you're probably going to get burnt out when things like that go on. But, you can work on your home. Your home is your sanctuary, whatever it is that you want to do that. I mean, like, decorate it, clean it, dust it, run around singing in your house. I mean, whatever. And hey, singing activates the vagus nerve. It's going to calm the nervous system. So, put on some music, improve something in your home, go outside and, tend to the yard or whatever it is that you need to do. If you like to do things like cooking and like decorating, things like that, those can really just be like a therapy, and it's okay to just have a rest day. It's okay to be like, you know what, I can't do it today, so I am going to just like have a movie day, and it's okay to do that. Because we want to avoid that crash cycle. We got to avoid that. So as far as quantum energy work goes with this, as I mentioned, yeah, physical and emotional inflammation is going to occur. And the thing is, if you have physical inflammation, then obviously your spiritual body, your morphogenetic field is inflamed as well because it holds the blueprints for the physical. The physical it's a physical manifestation of your spiritual, your energetic body. So when you have trapped emotions and misaligned systems and circuits and years of programming, broadcasting messages. There's like all kinds of different things. When you have those kinds of things that emotion code, body code, quantum frequency blueprint can clear out for you, then you're going to be getting rid of some of those things that are standing in your way of being able to hear your body so you know what rhythm sounds and looks like and you can feel the alignment. Because when we have all of these things built up, we have a tendency to completely ignore because it's just piling stuff on top, and it's kind of like putting like muffs over your ears and covering your eyes so you can't see and hear and feel. You cannot sense the things that are putting you out of alignment, or the like what you might need to do, what you're actually being pulled towards. We want to get rid of inherited patterns because you don't need to have your nervous system going berserk because of something that your great grandparents dealt with, because you are not dealing with that right now, but you could still be carrying that burden, and those could be contributing to different patterns in your own life. So when we clear those energetic blockages, we are able to remove some of that inflammation and find a little bit of clarity so that we can better figure out like our next move, and be able to hear those whispers. Not just like, you would say like, oh, your body whispers, and if you don't listen, it'll start screaming. And yeah, that's true from a physical standpoint. And it's also true from an energetic standpoint. So we want to be able to clear those things out. And I want to give you permission to do things differently after once you are clearing that out. Like, it's okay if your rhythm is different from other people's. And it's okay if, you look at something and go, I don't feel aligned with this anymore. You're trusting your gut instinct. Like, I don't want to get into this again. I keep seeing, from a practitioner standpoint, I keep seeing people like, the newest, greatest thing. Here's this, that, and the other thing. And I used to be somebody that would just jump on and want to be able to offer everything to everybody. But I'm noticing that that is not in alignment for me, because I don't need to offer everything. I only need to offer what the people who are coming to me actually are going to need. And actually, there are some supplements, and there are my services, and that and that's great. And I'm going to make sure that it's specific to you. And I want to make sure that, like, there's nothing cookie cutter. There's nothing, I'm not going to be like, oh, you're going to do 4 emotion code sessions, and you're going to take these specific supplements that I give everybody. And, and then you're going to do this little bit of tapping and meditate like this. And then everything's going to be great, and it's going to be magical, and you're going to be all betters. We don't play that game. We don't play that game. So permission to do something differently, because your body's rhythm is going to be different than everybody else's. So, it's okay. Take yourself a rest. Let yourself get rid of all of these things. Get out of this burnout culture, because your body doesn't like it. And like I said, like, if you can't enjoy it, then what the hell is the point? Why are you working your ass off, running around, driving yourself crazy, getting angry that you didn't make $100 before breakfast, when, at the end of the day, you're so exhausted, you don't have time to enjoy anything. So, it's not that's not where you're supposed to be. And sometimes we can even be making a lot of money, but we're completely out of alignment and out of rhythm. And it starts to show up in our physical health. So this is one of those other things that it's a cry for, watch out for the burnout. watch out for burnout because it's going to lead to your physical symptoms. And we've talked about that before. So if you would like to have an emotion code or body code session with me, then you can go to go.deeprootedwellnessid.com/ECBC. And you could go to that same address /QFB if you would like a quantum frequency blueprint, which will go ahead and align everything. It's basically several body code and emotion code sessions in one, and it aligns it with your energy centers. So if that's something that you're interested in, then please go and grab that. If you would like to grab a freebie, you can grab my Quantum Path to Wellness, and that's at go.deeprootedwellnessid.com/quantum path. So go ahead and download that. And I'm giving you permission to do things differently. So whatever your next step is going to be fantastic. So go ahead and hit subscribe, hit like, send this to a friend. I know somebody needs to hear this. Give somebody out there permission to freaking rest, to get out of the burnout cycle, to get back to that rhythm, find that happiness, basically slow the fuck down. Slow down. We need to conserve our energy for when we do have to move fast, because things like that happen. You got to move fast for some stuff, but we got to remember to slow the hell down, because the brakes stop working and we crash right on into the wall. So I hope that this was something great for you. Please go ahead and share it. Leave me reviews, happy reviews, great reviews. And I appreciate each and every listener so very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thanks for stopping by.